Hello, everyone. This is Harvey Singh from Instancy. I'm here to present this webinar today, and I really appreciate your time to join us. Are you able to hear my voice okay? If you could just indicate that through a hand raise or something like that. Yes. Okay, great. All right, fantastic. So I'd like to start the conference now or the webinar, and I'm sharing my slides. Hopefully you can see those here. And today's topic is learning experience platform. Now, what's happening right now, there's a shift in the learning platforms to go to the next level. And there are a lot of trends that we see, and Instancy has been working on these trends for quite some time now. And I'd like to share some of the key points, key ingredients for these modern learning platforms and what you can expect. My goal with this presentation is for you to be able to get a better insight about some of these new trends. So as you are making some of these choices or evaluating learning systems and in different capacities in your roles, you can actually begin to hopefully incorporate these ideas into your plans and designs. And we are also available at Instancy at any time to speak to us. We can present ideas, we can discuss, brainstorm, and we can share with you the actual work that has been going on in delivering these platforms. The good news with these new modern learning platforms is that they are available today. So these are no longer just concepts for future. These are available today, and there are a lot of businesses that are beginning to take advantage of these. Now, I'd like to actually post a question here. And I was wondering if you could maybe answer this poll question I had. I hope you see that on the screen. If you could answer this poll question, we'll just pause here to get your input on that. Okay, so I think that we see that some of you are actually planning to implement systems, and there are other folks that are still unsure about how the plans might be to move into the new platforms. So that's quite understandable. So thank you for sharing that insight and your input on that. Now, what I like to do is to contrast what these modern learning platforms deliver compared to the traditional learning management system. Now, I think the requirement for a learning management system does not really go away. So I think that it may be not correct to say that the learning experience platform is here and the learning management system is not needed anymore. In my sense of it, and my analysis over the years, is that we need the functionality of a learning management system to be able to administer a lot of the learning processes. But at the same time, we also want to provide a learning experience platform so that it can give us some modern user interface as well as benefits that will engage with the users. The key requirement from a business standpoint is that more and more learning is happening through the internet, through the browser, through the mobile apps. How can we make that learning more engaging for our users, for our learners? At the same time, we still need to administer some of these learning processes. Some of these processes can also be automated using some of these modern techniques that we have available today. In the traditional way of thinking about a learning management system, you would think about providing some training programs, courses to the students, and you're assigning that to the learners, and it's pretty much a top-down approach. Whereas a modern sense is that the learners actually are constantly active with learning process. They need to be self-driven processes so they can search and find learning as and when they need it. In fact, the new approach would be that learning is heard in a very proactive way. So recognizing certain need, we can provide certain content to the user at the right time. So that's where we are headed. A more contextualized learning is kind of where the trends are going to be more and more. And we do have the technologies to make that possible today, much more so than in the past. So rather than we dictating all the training top down, it's going to be more ability for the learners to get what they need at the time when they need it. Either they search for it and we provide them sophisticated search. In addition to that, we can give it to them in a modality, in the kind of format that they have time for, that they have interest in. It might be a short video. In some cases, it might be a complete course, or it may be a webinar which they can attend. Or in some cases, it might be just a simple answer to a specific question that they have. So it's a self-driven process, but that process can also be further improved using integration technologies which integrate different systems. For example, we can integrate learning with the sales process, which could be happening in a CRM application. So by doing cross-application integration, we can further contextualize the learning based on the tasks that workers are or knowledge workers are performing. Now, the other thing is that the traditional LMS only provided a very basic search feature, whereas the modern learning management or learning experience platforms provide a much more sophisticated search. They search through all the different content types. Can search through even search terms that are not very nicely, matching with exact terms that you have within your content application. So if your content or courses or videos or documents don't have exact matching terms, the search engine can be smartly providing the content because it's able to make some adjustments and understand what the user is looking for. And it's also able to suggest some search terms based on the previous searches and things like that. So a much more sophisticated search. The other thing is that the traditional way of learning management system and delivering content has been large monolithic courses, and where the trend is now toward creating micro learning, shorter and shorter learning, which can be consumed in a very short time by a learner, and they can move on. Now, that does not mean that we are going to not require a way to be able to create some sort of a sequencing or ability to provide prerequisite knowledge that the learners need to be able to move on to the next level of learning. So we still need that learning sequencing, but it may not happen through a packaging of content through a course. With the micro-learning approach, content can be added into the system in a rapid fashion, as well as it can incrementally grow. The knowledge of the organization can incrementally grow through various sources, and that can be provisioned as micro-learning. So that's the trend that we see now. The previous approach with the LMS was more of a desktop application. Today, we see that learning can happen across the board. It can be through mobile apps, it can be through desktop app, and it can even happen through other applications that business users have at their disposal today. And we'll review that in more detail. So these are some of the key topics that we will see in our research when we look at the modern learning experience platform. Now, so one of the key aspects, like I said, is the ubiquitous aspect of access. The learners need to be able to move freely in their work environment. They might be working on the desktop and they might switch over to a laptop in a meeting, or they might actually even take a smartphone with them in a meeting, and they need the ability to be able to access learning just in time, no matter where they're at. In addition to that, they might want this learning to happen with another business application that they're using, right? So these are some of the key aspects that we see in these learning experience platforms, is the ability to move around and be able to access the learning. Now, there are some key aspects of learning that are still important. For example, the notion of blended learning does not go away. This process started 20 plus years ago. We in the learning industry started to speak about how we can combine learning modalities so that we can make learning more effective. We recognize through research and through trial and through error, we found out that if we just deliver an e-learning course to a user, it's not as effective, and the completion rate for those courses is very low. So we began to add virtual classrooms and other collaboration techniques into that content and learning process so that learning became much more effective. We saw the completion rates of those learning programs rise quite a bit higher, significantly higher than using only one single modality. Now, social learning further enhances the capability for blended learning. It allows you to add interactions between peers who are learning in the learning process, and also allows them to interact with experts and the presenters in the webinar. So social learning is something where experts, instructors, and the learners can come together and even have ongoing conversation about the learning. So they can share content. They can also post videos. They can have articles. They can have interactions within the course. So for example, if there is a learning sequence which has 55 people participating inside of that learning experience, they can be conversing within that environment in a very private chat. They can also post comments and documents and share that. So this is a kind of social learning model that you'll begin to see now, which is a nice extension of blended learning. Another aspect that is now becoming very much part of the learning process is gamification. So more and more organizations seek the opportunity where the learning can be enhanced by gamification rules, which will allow users to earn points and badges and other incentives to be able to complete their learning and progress through the learning path. The gamification can include not only at a course level, but the gamification rules can be embedded at the specific learning activity level. For example, we want to reward the person or the learners for participating in a discussion forum. So in that case, it's not the completion of the overall course, but the more participation they have in the discussion forum, in the learning community, so to speak, then they can be rewarded for that. Or if they come back to the learning website, or they access the learning through a mobile app or what have you, we can reward them for their activities. So this is the kind of advancement that we see with gamification. In addition to that, users can progress to the next level, and they can also, maybe in some cases, you can configure it to earn points that can be translated into certain other rewards and recognition. The learning is going to be more and more AI or artificial intelligence driven. We'll talk more about that as well. So again, the ubiquitous access to learning across the board. Now, there are 5 things that I want to mention today in today's conversation. One is that you have, obviously, the desktop browser is still important because we have desktop screens, you have laptop screens, they're all using the desktop browser type of a configuration to access the application and the content. Now, mobile apps, of course, became very, very popular over the last few years, and they still maintain that popularity. Users want that mobile form factor. They want to be able to download the app and be able to access their content through those apps. So native apps can be branded. So for example, if you have a learning platform that serves content, microlearning, or webinars or assessments to the users, you want to provide a learning environment which can be downloaded as a branded app with your logo and your company and colors and the banner, other splash kind of screens when the app opens up, and then it provides the content, serves that, recommends learning, allows users to enroll and consume the content on the go. They can use the same URL, same credentials, same password that they use for the desktop. They can use that on the native app. So it makes it very easy for them to come in and out of these apps and go to the browser and continue the learning process from there. Now, there's one other aspect of mobile learning, which is a little bit newer, which is called Progressive Web App, or PWA. So the PWA strategy is a good way for you to be able to offer a mobile learning type of a interface, but in a using the browser technology. So what that allows you to do is to have a web application or a website that behaves like a native app, but you don't have to put it in the App Store. The same website can have the extension to serve as a progressive web app so that users can download the website on the home screen as an app icon. They can click on it just like they click on a normal native app, and they can access this website content through that app type of an experience right on the mobile device. So this progressive web app basically allows you to not have the limitation of the App Store, and you don't have to follow the policies of the App Store, like the Apple Store may have certain policies that if you don't like, you can use the progressive web app functionality of the learning experience platform so that users can get the app-like advantage without going through the App Store. So again, you may want to do both these techniques in order to, again, make the learning more accessible to the users. So they're not really something that you necessarily need to do one or the other. You may actually, in some cases, want to do both. So you provide them the downloadable native app. In addition to that, the users may have the choice to be able to extend that web experience, website experience, and simply download the icon on their home screen and launch it from there. Now, the other aspect that I want to mention today is the Microsoft Teams app as an example. So this is the idea of bringing learning inside of other popular applications. So Microsoft Teams is one of those applications which has gained a lot of widespread acceptance because chat has become a very, very popular method for people to communicate, even more so than email. And people prefer to have interactions while they are working on different tasks. And Microsoft Teams allows you to serve content and serve other application information through that app interface. And then finally, we have chatbot, which will speak about how users can interact with the learning through a conversational interface. So I like to pause here one more time. And if you could kindly, there's one more poll I have. I'd like to ask you if you are looking for a mobile kind of an interface when you deliver learning. Is that something that you are planning to introduce in your learning? And are your learners expecting to have a branded mobile app? And if you can give us your input on that. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and publish that result now. All right, so I think as you see here, that's kind of like almost a given now. People do expect the mobile technology at their disposal, and mobile apps are something that people do expect. So I agree with that analysis. So let's start with the first, the very first primary interface for our learning experience. The learning experience platform is a web application. And this web application can be presented through a browser. A user can access it through any kind of a browser, like a Chrome or a Microsoft Edge or anything like that, Safari and stuff like that. So the desktop browser does remain the default environment for delivering the learning application and the learning overall experience and content. But this website is going to be mobile responsive. So if you have a tablet or a smaller screen, that expectation of the users is that the web application will adjust according to the size of the device. So that's what you can expect today. The other thing that we will find with these kind of learning experience platforms is that the website can be designed with a lot of banners and colors and components, so you can lay out your site without writing any code. So that's the major trend that we see today, and that's what we really Instancy has been working on for quite some time. And now today you see that's become a predominant concept in the IT industry. You can create a website without writing a lot of code. So that means that there's pre-existing components like a catalog of content or catalog of videos or a discussion forum or a registration to the events for the webinar events and such using a calendar interface. So the calendar component, the functionality of registration and enrollment is part of that calendar. So you can just simply drag and drop it onto the page and design your pages. So this is the kind of a learning experience platform that we serve today. For the learners, it's an easy, friendly interface, and it adjusts according to the device size. But for the administrators, it's a way for them to design these pages in a very friendly, non-programmatic way. So this is an example of a homepage of a learning experience website. And then furthermore, the ability for users to actually engage with the learning, enroll in different types of learning programs. So it's a blended learning program. It involves webinars, it involves registrations into courses, microlearning, assessments, and much more. And yes, there is a way for the users to be able to search content through the search process as well as through categorizing the content that you may have. So now, of course, we go on to the mobile devices. So you can deliver the learning experience, and the learning experience platform has a choice to publish the apps into the app stores. Now, here again, the fantastic thing is that you can brand your app. You can also add certain options like menus or certain home screen or certain features. You can turn them on or off. Again, you can organize your app without writing a single line of code. And not only that, that same app can be actually with the same menus and options and same choices and features that you want to provide to the learners. The same functionality of the learning experience that you have configured once can then be delivered to both of these primary stores, the Apple iOS App Store as well as the Google App Store. So this makes it very easy for extending the learning experience to mobile devices without really getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty of creating an app or creating all the functionality, because the learning experience platform already has things built in. You just simply have to configure it, brand it, add the functionality, pick up the features that you need. So it's more of a drag and drop idea. You design the feature functions that you need and you publish the app. And of course, there are some settings like, okay, do you want the users to be able to get a notification on the app? So these are all the kind of configurations that you can have to the learning platform administrative interface. So the user will be able to get pretty much all the benefit and all the features and functions that they expect in a desktop browser. They have that pretty much all of those functionality available for the most part on the native app as well. Now, of course, the native app is going to have a little bit different type of a orientation in the way the screens are organized, because these apps are designed in a similar trend or similar approach as most of the common mobile apps out there, because we want to match the expectation of the user. They expect the mobile app to behave in a certain way, and there are certain actions and buttons and labels and menus. So those styles we're going to match with the mobile user interface trends and styles. So the application functionality is pretty much the same, but the style of presentation and the user interface is a little bit different and stylized according to the mobile app requirements, the mobile app trends, and the user interface expectations. Users can open the content. Now here again, you have option to deliver a course. So user can open that course within the mobile app. However, that course needs to be mobile responsive in order to present effectively. If that course is designed in a traditional authoring tool, it may not provide mobile responsive pages. So we have to be a little bit careful about that. Our courses available as a mobile responsive page layout or not. So the other idea is that many people now prefer that for mobile learning, they would like to deliver micro learning. So instead of delivering a complete course, they will break down the content into small chunks, and that mobile micro learning content can be delivered much more, in a much more user-friendly way to the end user from their perspective. And this is actually designed for a mobile app. The micro learning content is designed for the screen size that the mobile devices provide, and you can serve multimedia content within that, videos and interactive elements like questions and other type of interactions like a pop-up or a explanation screen or something. So all of that we can do through micro learning. So you may actually decide that you want to deliver micro learning through the apps, and the courses can be delivered to the desktop. Or if your courses are mobile responsive, which I hope that they are in today's day and age, so then those courses can also be served through the mobile app. It's not really a problem per se. Now, within the mobile app, we have other blended learning options like discussion forums and social learning, gamification. All those features that we spoke about do make their presence on the native app as well. The user is able to also engage in classroom scenarios. For example, there's a physical class that's happening, so user can enroll in that. If it's a virtual class, the user can not only enroll in that, but at the time of the conference, they're alerted, they're reminded, and they can join that virtual class. So the virtual meetings are integrated into the learning experience platform. Now that could be through Zoom meeting, that could be through GoToMeeting or some of these other familiar tools, but those apps are also integrated into the learning experience app. So the user simply has to click and join that meeting, and they are presented with the screen to be able to connect with others and the instructor and ask questions and stuff like that. Users can also interact with questions and assessments, so they can indicate their progress. We can also gauge their knowledge about a certain topic, whether it's prerequisites or after the delivery of the instruction. So all of these functionality is available through the native app, just like we see in the desktop. So now we come to the progressive web app, which we spoke about. PWA is a new trend of delivering a native app type of an experience through a website type of a framework. So a learning experience platform is presenting a website to the user. That same website can be extended, and that can present itself as a progressive web app. The way it behaves is that if I'm the user, I can open the learning experience website on my native device, and I can simply click on an option to download that on my home screen. And then the new app gets added to the home screen, which you see over here with this icon. So this is my learning, my LMS, or you can say learning experience platform, whatever you wish to call it. But basically, this website is now available to the learner on the device. They can click on it and open it, and it will present itself similar to a native app. Now, the other thing is it does not show the browser icon and does not take too much overhead of the browser. That browser kind of dissolves in the background, but the browser website is available through a full screen mobile app display. So, or the device, mobile device display, I should say. So this is not a native app that you have not downloaded it from the App Store, but you've been able to transform your website into a native behavior. So that becomes an extension of your learning website or your learning experience platform website by introducing this new concept of progressive web app. Now, of course, this can have the complete functionality that you expect from your normal desktop web application. You can have e-commerce transactions if you are selling courses. You can have shopping cart. You can have notifications. So when the users have to be notified about a new learning course that's going to start, or there's a due date, or there's a webinar coming up. So those kind of notifications can be delivered to the learner through the progressive web application, just like a native app, and they present on the mobile device. So they do get that experience of a native app without you having to worry about creating a mobile app or publishing that to the app stores. That's the advantage of that. With a normal URL of a website, just put in the URL and you are able to access that progressive web app, just like any other website. That's the beauty of it. So now we go on to the next level of interaction that user can have. So I mentioned that we can bring learning inside of Microsoft Teams as an example. The similar paradigm can be used to bring learning inside of other applications as well, because you may have Salesforce application, or you may have many of these applications allow for app integration. So learning applications can be easily integrated into many of these popular apps. Microsoft Teams is one such popular ubiquitous app that more and more users are using nowadays. It is a chat app, but it has a powerful functionality to be able to integrate into any kind of application. So that's how we at Instancy, last year we started that experimentation, and we have that capability where you can integrate your learning experience within the Microsoft Teams. Now, the users are able to, within the Teams environment, share content. They can chat with other users. They can have audio calls. They can have video conferencing. So imagine an environment where I can very easily chat with my colleagues and send them a link to one of the micro-learning objects so they can click and view that. Or I can search for any course right through the Microsoft Teams interface. So you can certainly browse the learning content that could be courses, micro-learning, webinars, assessments, certification courses, any of these blended learning types of content that you have, you can make them accessible, searchable through the Microsoft Teams interface. And users will be able to click on one of the apps, so you can have as many add-on apps that you want to integrate with the Microsoft Teams. So Instancy is one of the add-on apps with the Microsoft Teams. So if the user is able to install that extension, by doing so, they'll be able to access the full catalog of the courses or learning which is available through the learning experience platform, can now be made available through the common Microsoft Teams interface. Similarly, the users can also access their assignments of learning, which is My Learning, and they can access the content which is in progress. So they might switch over to a tab and they can see all the waitlisted webinars or the completed courses. So they're able to track their learning progress also within the Microsoft Teams environment. Furthermore, the notifications that are coming through the learning experience platform, which could be reminders for the new learning or assignment to the new learning and due date, and all those expectations can be delivered through notifications, and those notifications can come in as chat messages through the through the Microsoft Teams interface. So users can also be served content which may be relevant and just in time, relevant to their job and task at hand. So for example, if the user is involved in some sort of a business transaction with a customer, so one of their peers can say, hey, there's a learning video available. If you can watch that, that'll give you a better idea when you talk to the client tomorrow. So that kind of a learning can be shared right within the normal day-to-day business conversations. Okay, so like I said earlier, through all of these interactions and all this ubiquitous access to learning, blended learning is still going to be a key in my judgment. The learning is going to be not just, in fact, I would say that blended is going to be even more richer kind of blend going forward. So it's no longer just the idea that you have a course that you're delivering, but you're delivering an ongoing blended learning experience. So if you are engaged in, for example, sales skills, you want to develop sales skills, or if you want to develop leadership skills or certain new technology skills, you'll be able to have a concept of blended learning where there's an ongoing engagement with variety of content and content types or learning modalities. These learning modalities might be microlearning, could be video, it could be a little 1 or 2 screens which are providing some animation to help you understand a concept, or it might actually ask you a question and you answer that question, or it might be a complete learning path which is made up of many different learning activities stitched together into a blended learning program. So in that blended learning program, it's not something that the learner is going to complete in one day, but it might go on for quite some time. It might be a few weeks or even in some cases, few months. So blended learning is an approach where within this learning experience platform, we're able to deliver a sequence of instruction, and we can add rules into those instructions so that users can progress through those activities based on pre-learning, based on the prerequisites or other criteria. For example, if the learner is of a specific job role, based on their job role, we can actually add certain or show certain learning activities which are not relevant to other learners. So the sequence of learning can be very nicely personalized based on various attributes: the location of the person, their job role, and also their prior learning. If they have some prerequisite learning already under their belt, then they don't need to go through certain content. So there are many ways that we can personalize this learning process or this blended learning path. Within that blended learning path, the user can also engage in virtual meetings like a conference where they can connect with instructor and they can collaborate with others. And certain aspects of the learning are going to be self-paced. Another aspect of the blended learning path would be the ability for learners to have a discussion forum within the learning program. So it's no longer just a course with a list of topics and the user is by herself learning through that course. This blended learning program is made up of many different types of learning activities, discussion forum, content which could be diverse type, including webinars. And there's also a place where users can interact with each other, like a chat or a conversation happening within the framework of that learning path. So it's private to that learning path, but it allows for participants to add value, add their input into the learning process. So it extends that course and it extends that content that instructional designers may have thoughtfully put together, but you have these interactions which are contributing to that knowledge and can be shared between the participants. So now we extend that into social learning. Now, this process of learning within the learning experience platform can be thought of as learning communities, and that's one aspect of social learning in my research. And there are many other types of social learning functionality that we can include as components in the learning experience platform. So you can simply drag and drop and add a discussion forum within the website that you provide to the learner. So when the learners log into the site, they have access to the catalog of courses or videos. They have access to discussion forums as well. Now, in this environment, they can also post questions. So this is another aspect of social learning where users can post questions and anybody in that community can answer those questions. The ability for connecting with other users, similar to what you see on LinkedIn, is another aspect of social learning, but in a very private space. So let's say this learning website is about developing leadership skills. So all the individuals who have signed up for, they become members of this learning community, they can get to know each other and they can connect with each other and chat with each other. And they're also able to access all the content that they have, whether it's e-learning or videos or just-in-time documents. They can access all of that within this learning experience platform in an integrated way. Now, we can add gamification into that process, like we said earlier. So here we can actually have a very sophisticated gamification environment where any kind of learning activity can be part of that gamification process, whether it's posting comments in the discussion forum or completing a course or clicking on a video or logging on to the website or downloading a content on your native app. So any of these things can be rewarded and the users can earn points and they can graduate from one level to the next level. So gamification can be embedded within the entire learning experience platform. So any learning activities that you can pass through this learning experience platform can take advantage of those gamification rules and framework. There's a leaderboard functionality that allows users to see how they are progressing with respect to other users that would hopefully motivate them to take actions, and they can earn more points by increasing their participation level and their completion level of various learning activities. All right, so now we move to this next level of our thought process in expanding the concept of learning experience platform. So I like to talk about artificial intelligence, which is one of the biggest trends right now in the industry, not only in the learning space, but obviously in the larger technology realm. In the larger IT, the biggest trend right now is AI. And AI is going to be coming in many different ways into the learning process. And actually, this is just a starting point. Every year, we'll see totally new, mind-blowing capabilities that we had no idea are possible. Even today, a lot of AI is coming out at a much, much faster rate. So the learning is going to be benefiting from that in a very, very dramatic way. And in fact, it will begin to shift the paradigm of learning experience. So if you look at learning experience platform today, and you come back and look at it 3 years from now, it's going to be a totally transformative learning experience for the users and also for the learning providers, the instructors, as well as for the administrators. So the AI is going to be used in many, many different ways. Today, I'd like to speak about some of the ways that is already being used in the learning experience under that notion of a learning experience platform that we're focused on right now. So one of the capabilities that AI can offer is a semantic search. So it actually allows us to, first of all, search through any kind of content. And it also allows us to search through web pages and documents so that you can find specific information that users are looking for. So it can give us more information than just the course. So if the user is looking for leadership, well, they might be looking for team building, or they might be looking for how to motivate a team member. So that kind of information may be embedded within a web page or a document, and that search can help us find specific nuggets of information and answer that question in a very specific, meaningful way to the learner. That technology is available today. We can use that and use that within and embed that within the learning experience platform. Now, the other aspect of the AI that is becoming very popular now is the notion of recommendations. So that based on the learner's interest, based on their job role, and based on other learners who are similar to the learner that was logging onto the system, the learning can be recommended to them. In a similar way that you see with the Netflix recommending videos or movies, in a similar way, the learning content can be surfaced and proactively provided to the learner when they log on to the site. In that way, if new content becomes available and gets shared by the learning community that can surface, and the users can benefit from those new learning resources that are available. So recommendation engine is definitely going to play a part. Now, recommendations are tricky. There's a lot of background technology and concepts that come into that. And of course, how that learning recommendation engine is configured and what are attributes it is able to incorporate. For example, the rating of the content would be one of the dimension that the recommendation engine can take advantage of. As more and more users begin to rate the content, so that can be taken into account by the recommendation uh, artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithm, if you will. So recommendation engine is one specific type of machine learning or AI technique that can be integrated into the learning experience platform. That's one of the trends we will see. Another trend that is actually making its way into learning experience is the chatbot functionality. Now, a chatbot is something that is becoming extremely popular. It actually started from chat applications. Users began to connect with each other using chat applications like Messenger or Facebook chat or WhatsApp chat. And there are many, many chat applications that become extremely popular. Out of that came the idea that now, if users can connect with each other, if we have artificial intelligence, which is capable of answering those text responses from the users, we can use that to actually have a machine respond instead of another human person responding to those conversations or comments or questions and things like that. That gave the birth to the notion of a chat bot. So the bot is really an automated AI-driven tool that is actually processing all the conversation that's happening in a chat, and it's actually able to respond to that chat conversation in a similar way as a human. Now, of course, we all know that chatbot today is actually not as sophisticated as a human. It's not able to process all the contextualized information that a human might be able to process. But at the same time, there are lots of types of questions and comments and a lot of information that the participants or the learners are engaged in. A lot of that can be indeed handled through a automated bot. The bot is nothing else but a automated tool that is programmed to perform a specific function. In this case, the chatbot is designed to answer questions that users may have, or it might actually prompt them to provide more information. And based on that information, the chatbot is able to either retrieve some data and show it to the learner, or it might actually capture some information that learners may have and submit that to the backend application. So the chatbot can be integrated into the learning experience website. And in that process, that chatbot can actually, for example, prompt the user to provide information about enrollment into a course. So if the user is looking for a course, the chatbot can say, okay, what type of a course are you looking for? And the user says, I'm looking for a webinar. So then the bot says, okay, there are 5 webinars. So what's the topic? And these are the 5 webinars coming up. And it can actually allow the user to enroll into those webinars. So the enrollment can happen through a bot. Any kind of general questions that users may have about the website and overall availability of courses or instructors or any information, the bot can be programmed to answer all of those questions. So we are working with customers and clients today to be able to integrate sophisticated conversational interactions and integrating that right within the learning experience platform. This chatbot can be enabled through the native app and can also be enabled through the website, so that alongside with the ability for the users to navigate through the courses and through the learning experience, they can simply click on the chatbot and have a conversation and ask a lot of the questions, which can be very easily answered by the bot, and you don't have to worry about responding to the learner the next day because the human assistant or the human tutor may not be immediately available. So a lot of those things can be handled by the bot. Now, there are some more technologies that are also available today, and you will begin to see them incorporated, and I'll briefly mention them. One of them is the ability to actually have a sophisticated AI-driven experience within the virtual classroom or a webinar. So what the AI technology allows us to do today is that it can monitor the expressions and the visual interactions across all the participants in a virtual class. And it can actually provide information to the instructor that whether the participants are paying attention or not. So it can also highlight and give the information to the instructor that maybe out of the 30 participants, 3 of the specific people who are disengaged. So now the instructor can use that information to be able to adjust their speaking, or they can actually maybe go and reach out to those students who are disconnected and maybe engage with them. So this actually could be very, very useful tool within the learning process. Another application that is becoming already available is that any kind of a webinar that you conduct, the system will automatically record the webinar, but not only record, that's pretty popular already, but you can actually transcribe that, the recording. And furthermore, you can also do sentiment analysis on that recording data. So if users have made comments or they have asked certain type of questions, the AI will be able to extract that text information and be able to give you analysis about the sentiment of the users, about whether they were feeling positive or not so negative about certain aspects that were covered in the topics that were part of the webinar. So there are a lot of these techniques that are going to be very popular coming into the learning process as well. So with that, I'd like to actually open this conversation for your questions. So I will pause the presentation. So if you could kindly share any questions in the there's the chat conversation there in the question answers. If you could post any questions that you may have, that would be great. Any one of you, if you could kindly post any comment or question, then I could address that in the few minutes we have. So while you are thinking of any questions you may have, I would like to request you to keep in mind to be able to reach out to us and our team to have conversations so we can discuss that these learning experience platforms, how can they be deployed? What are some of the integration things that can be achieved? So these learning platforms can be integrated into other business applications, how we can define mobile interfaces, and how we can take advantage of progressive web app. And the chatbot functionality can be extended to achieve pretty remarkable results. It can actually have not only a knowledge base of question answers, answering general questions that users have. So let's say you have 50 or 60 questions that are very commonly asked by the users. We can create a knowledge base out of that, and the user can simply type in the question, and the chatbot is able to make some judgments. And even if the words the user is using are not exactly a match to the knowledge base questions, it can make adjustments because it's able to process natural language, and then it's able to provide the response to that question. So knowledge base is one aspect of the chatbot which can be immediately deployed. It's very easy to deploy and does not take any programming effort to input all that question answer knowledge base data. In addition to that, we can also define intents for various types of actions like enrollment to the course, or status of a course, or the availability of a course, or certain date and time, or a due date. So these kinds of questions the bot can easily answer in the learning process. So we are very happy to explain, show the demos, and discuss those things with you. And please reach out to us on that. So again, we'll pause here to see if any questions come up here, and then we'll conclude after that. If there are no questions, I have one more question that I wanted to pop up that maybe you can answer here. It's related to Microsoft Teams. I wanted to know whether is your business already using chat or looking to use a chat application like Microsoft Teams? Okay, great. So I think some of you have already replied to that you are actually looking at Teams as an interface. There are some other applications like Teams. One of the very popular ones actually is called Slack, which can have pretty much similar functionality that you see with Teams. So yes, learning can be nicely integrated into such applications because these kind of apps are designed to integrate with many different systems. So learning experience platform is a very obvious choice of what kind of apps can be integrated into the Teams framework or the chat kind of a business application framework. So yes, this is something that we will begin to see more of in the days ahead. All right, so yes, okay, there's one question that came up, which is about measuring the eye movements. So yes, I think that the technology that I have been working with is called Monet, and that's an AI-driven tool that allows you to conduct a virtual class. And in that virtual meeting, the Monet, which is the name of the tool here, and that tool is able to actually look at the the body language of the user. So the person is kind of face down and not paying attention. It can recognize that. So it's more of a body language, and also the hand movements, arms and hands, as well as the facial expressions. I don't know that if it can go down to the eye movement level yet, but it can certainly gauge the user's engagement with the webinar or with the conference going on, with the body language, with the head, and with the facial expressions, so that it is able to do. And I will check with my friends at the Monet tool. This is my friend actually, and I will check with them if they are able to do eye movements. I don't believe they do eye movements yet, but something that certainly would advance in the future, where eye movements would very much be part of the process of gauging interest, because eye movements are very useful to know, so that's obviously a great way to gauge the learner's interest or engagement with the process. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I will check with the Monet company and see if they're able to provide that. Okay. So we'll send out more information once I find out. All right. So I think that brings our presentation to a close for now. And I would like to invite you to interact with us again. And I'd like to share this screen here, which has the contact information. So you can send us an email, and also through our website, you can contact us. And we look forward to continuing down this path of creating useful, personalized, engaging learning experiences, and continue our research in how we can leverage technologies in the days ahead, and the latest technologies, and how we can deploy them, use them, integrate them within the learning experience. And to me, learning experience and learning management system can work together. So the administrative processes of learning and the user's ability to engage with these new qualities that we have discussed today, that can be nicely integrated, so the learning management system evolves as opposed to gets totally wiped out and something new comes up. It's more of an evolution that I see happening in the industry today. So with that, thank you very much for your time and presence, and we look forward to future engagements and interactions.